Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's Writers Chat. And this is where we like to gather together as writers, talk about all things writing for writers and by writers. And it is so good seeing everybody today. It's a sunny day in Northwest Ohio. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but we're probably getting some spring weather, and I come alive at spring. So I do much better in spring than I do in January and February in dreary Ohio. So I know we have people from all across the United States with us today, or watching the replay. I think this is one many of us will want to go back and listen to a second time, and next week too. So welcome to being with us. It's sunny in Virginia, Yvonne. So I'm glad to hear that, Yvonne. That's great. And so my name is Jean Wise. I'm one of the co-hosts, and I'm joined today by our motley crew. We got Johnny on her iPhone down there. She's on my bottom. I don't know where she is with it, how everybody else sees her. We got Melissa, which is going to help me, is doing the recording, and Brandy's going to be our presenter today. So most of us are going to go off camera and let Brandy run the show today, and we'll have her tell you what she's going to do. And if I remember right, Brandy, you said we'll keep track of questions in the chat, but you want to hold questions towards the end, right? So she can get through some of the material stuff. So that's what we're going to kind of do. So as you think of questions, she might still be coming up to answer them, but go ahead and put them in the chat. And Melissa and Johnny and I will kind of help monitor and keep track of those. So we'll have some time at the end, and we'll have time next week too. This is all first part 1 and part 2. So take it away, Brandy. Thank you for doing this today, by the way. Thank you.
Absolutely. So welcome, everybody. I am going to be doing Scrivener Basics today. That means I want to show you this program and let you get writing as quickly as possible with it. It can be a very overwhelming program when you first open it, and I want to take that feeling of overwhelmingness away. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to, first off, put some things in the chat. They're going to tell you where you can find Scrivener. And that will be at Literature and Latte. I will bring that up on my screen. I'm going to start screen sharing in a few minutes. And there's Literature and Latte in there. They have a free trial that you can check out this program with, and it's free for 30 days. The cool thing about this free trial is that, oops, I didn't click enter. There we go. The free trial is for 30 days, but it's full program usage. So you get full features of the program, and it is for usage days. So it's not just if you get it on today, you only have until a month from now and you don't ever use it. It's 30 days of using it. And the trial is for Mac and for Windows. They also have an OS version. There's no trial for that, but there are programs for all these. So I'm going to be going through the Mac program today because that's what I have. And let me pop in before I do screen sharing, and I don't see the chat very well. I'm going to pop in the chat some, here we are. Bear with me, my chat screen is little. And that's just a little bit of information on the free trial in the chat. Now I'm going to start screen sharing. Let's see if I can remember how to do this. It's been a little bit. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we see you.
Beautiful, okay. And are you seeing a lady? I have 2 screens.
Yes, we are.
Okay. Good. So I'm going to first go down here. This little icon right down here is Scrivener. We're going to open it fresh. First thing that you see when you open it is the Getting Started page. And you'll see we have tutorials right off the bat. So if you get this and you open it, you don't know what you're doing, you can't remember where this workshop is found, you can find stuff right here. They have an interactive tutorial, Scrivener manual, and video tutorials. Can be very, very helpful. They also have these available in the help menu of the program once you're in there. So very easy to find. And that's one thing I really love about Scrivener is they make this very easy to use. There's more than one way to do what you want to do. So we're going to, let's see, there's all the things here. These are templates. They break down the templates into different sections. Blank is pretty much your basic. We will be working with that. There are some fiction templates, nonfiction, picture book, script writing, and miscellaneous. These are two that I made myself because I run an editing business. So I keep a client record and other things in there. And several of these templates are not going to be available in the initial starting program, but there are some on the web that you can find if you search for Scrivener templates. And I'm going to see if I can try and find some of those for you when it gets to next week when we'll be discussing Scrivener Basics. So right now we're going to open a blank program. We'll choose that. And first off, it's going to ask you to title it. And the reason it does this is it auto saves what you're working on. So we are going to title this sample, and I'm just going to save this right here to my desktop, but you can save it to wherever you want to save it, whichever folder you have. And again, there is a Windows version of this program. I'm on a Mac, but the programs are pretty similar. So, hey guys, is there a way to move the screen sharing toolbar so that I can see my screen a little better? Here, I'm just actually going to move this down a little bit. That way I can see what I need to see and you can see what you need to see. All right, so this here is, I see a Scrivener comparable to Word. Comparable, it's a word processor, but it's so much more. And I think you'll get to see some of that as I go through this program. So you can export things into Word, so you can use what you've made in Scrivener and bring it out to Word. I'll get to that a little bit later, but this program is extremely, it's a robust program. It can do a lot. So this here is what you call the main editor. And this is where you type some words. Now you guys all got to bear with me because my typing is atrocious. I need to practice more. So I tend to make a lot of errors and backspace and delete quite a bit. So just ignore all that and focus on this. So this is the editor. You can type all this here. And anything that you want to work on, you're going to be doing on this side. It's called the editor. Now you notice when I typed this up here made words. But if I click in here, you'll see untitled document. This is called the header, and this is where you can put in another title. And when you type that, it shows up on this side. This here is what's called the binder. It's basically your menu for your project. And this is what's going to help you keep track of all this. And this right here is largely what makes this program different from Word. This right here looks a lot like Word and that you can type on your page. This is very different. So before we get more into this, I want to show you that you can change some things. So I'm going to highlight some of this, and you'll see up here there's style, different styles that you can set. Right now it's set to no style, and Scrivener recommends that you use no style because it's a little bit easier when you want to print it later. You can select a title. It will change your whole thing to title. You can select character styles and make this just a code span. A character title is a little different where it only changes the word. It doesn't change the entire paragraph and stuff. So I'm going to undo that. My little simple trick for undo is Command and Z. I tend to use that quite a bit, but there is also undo right up here under Edit. Things you can also do is you can change your typeface. You can change oblique, italics, bold. Now, not everything says oblique. Times has regular old italic. You can change your size. You can change underline and bold over here. Now, if you want to change all this, this is left hand. You can put it in the center of your project. You can put it on the right hand. And it only goes to right here because what you don't see is that this over here is a little different. This is justified. Right here, you can change your text color. You can highlight. You can do all these things. This right here, if I have, I'm going to enter and type more words. Lots of highlighting going on here. You select this, you can change this so you can double space, or you can go back single space. You have the option to make bullets, make this whole thing bulleted. Tab over, it will go and indent itself. If you shift and tab, it will backtrack. I'm going to make all of this a little bit more normal. Wow, see, that's really tiny. That's partly because it's my computer. The cool thing about all of this is, see down here, this is your zoom. You can zoom to 200. You can zoom to 400. That's giant on normal standard. This is small at the moment because of kind of what it is. I'm just going to make this 14 for now, just to make it a little bigger. And now the one thing about the zoom is that when you zoom, it doesn't change the actual type size. It doesn't change the font. It just makes it bigger on your screen. So zoom is fantastic if you have tired eyes like I tend to these days. Okay, so this right here is a document. That's what you normally used to. So over here, back in the binder, when I wrote in here, I actually created a file. This right here is called a file. This right here is a folder. This is a folder and this is a folder. And you can tell a folder right away because they have these little carets that will allow you to open and close them. The one thing that's unique about these three folders here is that they are basic in every project that you will make and in every template. And they are ones that you cannot delete. They are your standards. They have to be there. This one in particular is special in that it can only create text files in here. You can add images and stuff onto your text files, but you cannot actually put an image file itself underneath that. You would want to put it under research. Trash, anything you want to get rid of, you would put it in the trash. You can go up here. Where's my delete? I never use delete up there. Oh, there's a trash button right here. Remember I said that Scrivener is very good at making it easy to use the program? Well, here's a good example. There's a trash button here. There's a delete up here somewhere. Just for the life of me, I don't know because I never use it because this one is way too easier. And the other thing I like to do is I right click it and move to trash. Honestly, that's what I use the most. So for now, I'm going to move this to the trash. You'll see that it is out of the draft folder. Nothing's in there. And it is down in trash. It didn't automatically go away. So if you want to actually remove the things that you don't want anymore, you can right click on trash and empty trash. And again, there's another option up here. I don't use it because right click is so easy. Here it is. So what happens if I put something in the trash and I don't want it in the trash? I can take it, drag it, and put it where I want it. What if I don't want it in the draft folder? I can take it and drag it into research. So very, very easy to create things, move it around. Now you notice when I moved that last one, I went from here and I put it right under here. I could have also put it there. So you can drag on top of a folder or another file, or you can drag it and put it underneath. A lot of variabilities there. So I'm going to create another file under this because this right here, the draft folder, is your main folder for where you're going to create the files you want to put in your finished product. So anything that you want to write as a story, a novel, a nonfiction book, and even articles, if you want to make articles, put them in the draft folder because this is going to be the main folder that this program will use to print from. Now you can print from pretty much any of these folders, but the draft folder is the one that will auto-populate in your print feature of this program. So use it over here. Now I'm going to make a new file. Now, because I was already over here in the binder, it's got the cursor here and I'm going to type. I'm just going to write Title 2. And like I said, ignore my atrocious typing. And I hit enter. And now I have this. You'll notice the title populated in the heading here. And I can type anything without making mistakes. Haha, did it. Yay me. So now we have 2 files underneath the draft folder. Fantastic. Now, if I'm over here and I make another file, you can click this here, the little plus button, or you can click the little caret and it will give you the option to create new text. I'm just going to click this. Oh, another thing you can do right here, down here in the binder, there's a little plus down here. So if you happen to be down here, you can create your new document from down here. Now I'm in the editor, my cursor's in the editor, and I create a new file. And because I clicked it here, it made a new one. Now, if I'm over here, I'm going to type some words. Y'all can laugh at my typing all day long. Now I'm over here. If I click the plus button, it made a new file. Again, you'll notice that the cursor is right here. It's not over here blinking. So if I type new words, it's just typing in the editor part. And you'll notice that the header has populated with what I've typed down here. And it will keep doing that. And it also puts it over here. So if you don't put a title in your header or in the binder, it will just give you what you've written in the editor. Now you can go in here or you can go over here. You'll notice if I click this, I can't really type. If I type, it doesn't do anything. I can double click over here and make a new title. I can also just single click up here if I already have a title, and I can backspace or I can highlight and start typing and it will make a new title. So that's how to make files. Now, you heard me mention a folder before. So there's basically 2 types of documents in this program. It's a file and it's a folder. The files are these are the folders. What happens if you want to make a novel? Then you usually use chapters, right? Well, you got this big, huge thing, and this folder is supposed to have all of your novel content in it, right? How can you break it up? Well, you can add a new folder. And voila, we have a new folder. I'm not going to retitle it. I'm just going to leave it that for now. Now, you'll notice this up here is something I haven't introduced yet, but because this is something I can't type in, I'm just going to go up here and click this little thing. These are different modes, different ways to view things, and I will cover that later. So I clicked on this so I can get into the area where I can start typing again. And hello world. Isn't that the common phrase they use for computing stuff? Okay, so I typed this. Now, I don't know if you see this right here. This created a little square. It's actually like a rectangle. It's supposed to represent a page. And if you see that on a folder, that means there is text directly on the folder. It does not mean that there are files underneath, because you see there's no files underneath here. I haven't put anything under here. So if that just is a little marker, if you have a bunch of files and folders down here and you want to know which folder might have text right on it, look for one with a picture of a page attached to the icon. Now you can take a file and you can move it to this. You can click right on it or you can move under it. Either or, we'll stick it under here. And I'm going to move a couple under here. Now I am also going to make another folder. Now you notice how I made one, because I was already here on this document, it put this folder underneath this one. That's great. You can do that. You can also take files and you can put them underneath here. But what happens if you don't want this here and you're like, oh no, it's in the wrong space? Well, you can take it and you can drag it out, or you can use these little arrows here. These let you move it. You can move it out there, or you can move it completely outside the draft folder and make it its own folder. You can put it back here, and then same with these. These you can reorder. Maybe you want this file above this one, you can drag it, or you can click the up arrow. So there are a lot of ways to move things around. All right, let me check my notes and see where I am. Hey, be quiet, telephone. Let me shut that up. Hold on. It will just keep ringing if I don't do that. Okay. So let's see, where am I? I've gone through several of my notes. Yes. I want to talk about inserting something into a document. Up here, you'll see your menu. I've set my menu so that it doesn't go away. On a lot of Macs, you'll see that this menu up here will actually kind of auto hide. If I were to take this and full screen, see my menu up there goes away. And then if I go up there, it comes back down, which is handy. But for this, I don't want to do that. I want it to just leave it up there so that you guys can see what I'm doing. So in here is insert. There's a lot of different things you can insert into a file. And oops, I need to click in here first. I want to insert, where am I? Insert, I want to insert an image from a file. Say you want to put something in there, picture just to support your document. So I'm going to click insert. I'm going to find my image. I'm going to use this, click it, and I'm going to open it. And there it is. Kind of big right now, right? So I'm going to right click on my image and I'm going to scale the image and it will bring up this here. I have lock aspect ratio. That way I'm not distorting the image, although I can if I want to. Not always advisable, especially when you've got pictures of people you're putting in your page. And I'm just going to make it smaller so you can see it better. You can rename it if you want to. I'm going to click OK. And that's just a way to put an image into your text. This image is in the draft folder. Do you remember I said that a draft folder can only accept text files? Yes. So this is a text file. There's an image in the text file. If I were to take this, here's a cool drag and drop, and I were to try and put this over in the binder, which you can do, and I try and stick it in the draft folder by itself as its own, you'll get an error that says media files cannot be dragged into the draft folder. But you can take this and you can put it in your research folder. And then instead of it being inside a file, see it copied it instead of took it out, it makes it its own file, which is really handy for when you want to do research. So the one thing that I wish Scrivener would do, and if they've done it, I haven't figured out yet how to do it, that is text wrapping. If I want to make new text, look at what happens. Not a fan of this. So I tend to do something a little bit different. There's something else that you can insert into these files, and I'm going to use right click because it's another way and I use it all the time. Here's my right click, and if you notice, there's a lot of different things you could put on here, right? It's not in here, so I forget. I'm not going to right click to do this. I'm going to go back up here under insert, and I'm going to see this. It says table, insert table. Haha. Now I have a table. I can set the rows, I can set the columns, I can align the text within each cell where I want it, and then this will let you align where the whole text is placed within the cell. If you want it at the top of the text, if you top of the cell, or if you want to align it at the center of the cell so that everything lines up, you can set that. You can change the borders. If you want to change all of them, you would select all of them by highlighting all of them. And then you can even set a color fill in the background. Now, the reason that I made this, I'm going to shrink my columns down to 1, and I'm going to shrink my rows down to 1. Because I hate images that I can't wrap, I'm going to take it and drag it and put it right in my table. Now, I can at least wrap things around. When I am making like sometimes I will work with knitting instructions, and there will be pictures, and then there will be materials lists and things like that. I'll oftentimes put a table in my file, and I'll put like the image on this side. I will create another column, and then I'll put text over, I'm going to tab over, and then I'll put my materials over here, for example. And it helps to align things better where I can't really do that well if I don't use a table inside this. So that has been my workaround for trying to get text and pictures to play nice with each other in Scrivener. I think that's the only one thing in Scrivener that I wish they would put in here is the text wrap around an image. So let's see, I'm going to check my notes again, see where I am. Okay, hey, we're down, got 2 pages down, and it is 11:30. All right. So one thing I want to address that's really important, I'm going to close out of the table thing, is these things up here. One other really super important part of Scrivener is this thing over here. It is called the inspector. I'm going to click on it, and actually I'm going to drag this out a little bit. That's one thing about this. You can drag your sidebars to make things bigger, customize it for what you need. This inspector here is important because it has features about the folders you have open. So this one, I have this folder open, and you'll see this little section here, a little notepad. This section here allows you to put in a synopsis of what this is. You can toggle this right here, and you can put an image. I can take this and I can actually drag that into there so that that shows up. That will show up in another mode in here called Corkboard. That's up here. I'll just give you a quick preview. If I select on this, you have to have more than one file. You have to have a group in order for Corkboard to show up. And I select it here, you'll see that the image shows up here. That image is showing up from, go back to here, this section right here, the synopsis section. So if you were to make a note card, whatever you type in this little section here is going to show up on a note card in the Corkboard. This down here is notes. These notes are document specific. So if I write a note here, and then I move down to this document here, this note section will be blank. I use this a lot for when I'm working on short stories, especially if I'm trying to find a title. I've written my story, and then I'm like, I need another title. What do? I will come over here and I will just brainstorm titles down this list, and it will show up only in this file. It won't show up in my other one. So that's this part of the inspector. This part of the inspector here, moving over to the right, is bookmarks. You'll notice that looks kind of like this here. Bookmarks are fantastic because they are files that you can point to either in your project or outside the project that you can make available within the whole project at any time. You can make document bookmarks so that you can bookmark something that's specific only to this particular file, or you can set it to project bookmarks and they will be available for your entire project. Anything over here you would be able to look at. There's a little gear over here that shows you how to add an internal bookmark, an external bookmark. An internal bookmark, by the way, is like you've read PDF books and you've clicked on a link and then it takes you a different part of the ebook. Same thing. That's what this does here. You can also make external bookmarks either to files in your own computer system or somewhere else. Moving on, because we're getting a little short on time. This is a large program and we are not going to be able to get through every single feature even after next week's chat, but I will do my best to give you the most important features. This one here is metadata, and it's pretty cool. It tells you, this little check mark here says include and compile. Compile is what you will use to print. And this tells you whether or not this document is included in what you would be printing. And that's, again, changeable when you go into the compile feature to print very versatile. It tells you the section type, which the section type helps you organize your documents for printing. For that reason, I highly recommend that you maintain a fairly consistent folder and file for your setup. It will make it easier to print later. If you have folders here and then documents, you can take this and like say put it out here on the same level as the folder. That's fine, but if you want to print, it could make it a little bit trickier for printing. So it's good to maintain a good structure in the binder. Custom metadata. You can set up custom metadata. I'm not going to get into that now in the interest of time, but you can set things in there like tracking word counts or something that you might want to document on a fairly consistent basis. It lets you customize. Keywords. I have a file that I put all my flash fiction in, and I've created keywords for science fiction, fantasy, general, those different kinds of things. And then I will choose keywords and put them on my files and they will show up in here. I will go over that probably next week when we do the advanced. This next one, super, super important. Highly recommend you make friends with this. This is called Snapshot. And I'm just going to show you quickly what it does is takes a picture of your work in its present state. I have two buttons up here. This toolbar up here is customizable. I added a second one here that lets you take a snapshot and at the same time put a title on it. The standard one is snapshot, and you click the snapshot and it takes a picture of your whole thing and puts it over here. It will make a whole bunch of these every time you create a snapshot. What's awesome about this is that if you write something, you can track your drafts. So I can take this, I can double click on this and I can type draft 1 or anything else you want to put in there, and you can click all these drafts. You can go back and roll back. You can look at the entire text of that snapshot in this window here, which is resizable. I'll show you more about that next week. Awesome feature. I highly recommend using it because if you make any changes in your document, you can always know what you had written previously if you use the snapshot feature. And this last one here is comments and footnotes. Those are particularly useful for nonfiction writers. Or if you are writing a novel and you want to make comments about your, things, you can make it in the text and it will show up over here. So that is overview of those things. Now, what's super important is printing. You want to print. There's two things. You got the file. I'm on this document. You can choose to print the current document and it will print only this. You can choose this and then print. Another thing you want to do if you want to check how your printing looks, you can come over here and change it to open in preview. It will show you what it looks like and then you can print. You can also, if you hold down Command, or if you want to, I don't know if you can do a marquee dragging to select. You can also use Shift if you're selecting everything all in the same file. I mean, not in the same file. You can use Shift if you're selecting in a row. If you want to choose different files, you hold down the Command, or I think it's Control on Windows, and you select individual ones. So I've selected 3, and if I go up here and I select Print Current Document, oh, what is this? It put me in Corkboard mode. And well, sneak peek, you can print your index cards off your Corkboard. See that? So you can select multiple ones. But easiest thing, if you just wanted to print out a draft of what you're currently working on, you have your file here, you go up to here, you print current document. Now, there is compile. Compile is more involved, kind of requires a class in itself. But briefly, you click compile if you want to print, say, your entire draft. Remember I said earlier, The draft folder will auto-populate when you want to print in the compile area. Well, that's this right here. And over here, you'll see compile. And you see draft is automatically put in here. Now, you can go and print anything else that's over here with different selections. But for the sake of just getting you printing what you're working on, you put your project documents that you actually want to create in the draft, and then you can select which of these you want to print out. You can choose all of them, or maybe you only want to print out a chapter. So you can take all of these, just select only these, and then you can compile, select compile, and then you can preview. Now, because I don't have a lot of things in documents, it's not going to show me a whole bunch. If there were a lot more things, it would show you. And then you would print it, or if you wanted to check further how it looked, you could go over here and click open and preview before you did that. I use that feature a lot. We'll get more into compiling in the other class. And exporting is also important to know. If you're working in Scrivener, but maybe you want to hire a freelance editor, freelance editors are most likely going to work in Word, which means you need to be able to send your document to your editor or your publisher or whoever you're submitting to in a Word format. You can do that by getting your stuff out of Scrivener into Word. So you can take this, go to File, and you go to Export. It gives you different options. The one you're most likely going to use is Export File. So you click on that, and it gives you options down here. You can retitle it. I'm going to retitle this Sample, and you can change what you're making it into. So change it into a Word document. It gives you the option if you want to include your notes, your metadata, or any snapshots. And then you click export. Before I click export, I have it saving to my desktop. You can choose wherever you want to send it, and then you export. And it will export this file and convert it into a Word document. Now I can go to my desktop. And here is my Word document I just created. I will open it and drag it over here. I have dark mode on. Can you tell? Everything is dark. It would look lighter if I didn't have dark mode. This is what it looks like. It brought this over. So it will turn it into Word. There is a lot in this program. I'll get rid of my Finder. And it does seem extremely overwhelming, which is why I'm doing this class. But these are the basic features that will get you writing. Let me take a look real quick. I have a few more minutes to share with you before I open things up for some questions. Let me go real briefly over the icons. This is a view area. Different views, it'll give you different views. If you want to search, here's search. You can also, quick tip, click in here and search. This is where you will add from. This moves things. This is a quick reference panel. We will mention that and get into that next time. Aha, here is your insert button. I never use this button. I should use this button. I just found it today. So, easier way to insert from a file, insert a linked file, add a footnote, a comment, a link, or a table. Yes, I should have seen that earlier. Typewriter and focus, those are a couple different features that we'll get into later. Very important, these things, and I really want to address these quickly, kind of need to. Short on time, but we'll try and get it done. These other things that we went basically through, but what's really super important is the other modes. So there is a composition mode. This button here, compose, I'm going to click it. it changes your whole screen. It will automatically tell you typewriter scrolling is enabled. We can discuss that later. This lets you type without any distractions. Everybody likes that. Okay, most people like it? No, well, I guess that's really generalizing. Many people like it. You can change the different settings. Now, if you notice, I went down here and a menu popped up. So you can change the zoom, you can change the paper's position, you can change how wide it is. If you hold down the option button, is it option? Oh, control, I can't remember which one. Aha, option button, you see how this changed? You can change that part of it. This gives you the inspector. This lets you navigate from your binder without leaving the composition mode. A couple other things here. This gives you your word count, and this will let you fade your background. If you want to get out of this mode, you hit escape or come down here and hit the get smaller arrows. There is script writing mode. Easiest way to get into that, you can get into it up here. Easiest way is hitting Command and 8, script writing mode. The big difference with this is it takes this and puts a little menu down here and gives you the different features that you would use if you were writing a script, like a screenplay. I don't use this feature because I don't write screenplays, but it is there and very useful for those that do. I'm going to hit Command 8 again to go back to standard mode. Now, the other things that are really super important are these up here. This is what Scriveners are known for. You can see right here, this is selected, it's grayed out, it's a single page. This is a single page view. If I am in, let's see, yeah, we'll go there. If I go to a folder, this is a group. By the way, you can move this onto here and you can make a text group. So more than one file document together looks like a text group. This mode up here will work with, you see this right here, single page, single page. If I move to a text group or a folder, because they're groups, this up here changes to more than one page. Nothing is selected right now. That means that I am viewing just one document. If I select this mode, it's going to view this and everything underneath it. So everything in this. You'll notice there's a dotted line here. This is called the Scrivenings mode. And this is what's really cool because you can take, I'm going to go up here. Oops, that's Corkboard mode. Hey, see the Corkboard? Yaha, it's an index card. Only works in group feature. Go up here and you'll see you can take a chapter and you can view your entire chapter in one document by scrolling down. This is useful if you want to take a chapter and make individual files for individual scenes, then you can view the whole thing as a chapter. It will have these little page breaks. If you make a change here, change the word, keyword, it will also change it over here, wherever I say, oh, keyword, this was actually, remember this little icon here? This is actually in the folder itself. So I change it in the folder. If I change something down here, it will change it on the individual as well. So you can work in here seamlessly to work in your chapter completely together. Or you can work in individual scenes like this. Next mode, almost there, guys. Corkboard. This is only works, you will only see something if I go to Corkboard, I'm on a single document, you won't see anything. So you have to go to something that's got a group. If you go to a group, let's see, and you go to Corkboard, that shows that. This shows this, and you can see there's some files down here. It shows you there's more cards down here. If I click Command or Control on a Windows and select more than one, you can see more than one in Corkboard. And, oh, hey, I had my inspector still open. Ha, 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 yay. Oh, that's a bookmark. I was actually looking for inspector because I wanted to show this right here. Aha, here we are. Now you notice this folder has keyword. This is actually the text inside the folder. It's not in here, and that's because it's a folder. If it's a document and there's nothing in here, it doesn't really look like much of anything. But if you type in the synopsis, hello, on the new folder, this is right there. Where did it go? Okay, there they are. So I've got all these showing. I typed the hello in the synopsis area and it showed up here. If you, oh, real quick, do you see how this, I don't know if you can tell or not, this looks, no, it doesn't give me anything. This is black and this is gray. Black means that there's something written in the synopsis section over here. And gray means that the synopsis is empty and this is the words that is actually on the main editor section of the page. So that's one way to tell if you have a synopsis. There's a couple different ways to use this. One more mode, and then I think we will open up to questions. And I will have actually gotten through everything today. This is also another group mode, outlining. Outline mode is super cool and super useful for a lot of different things. Hey, don't do that. Here we go. There's a little caret and you can see down here. So it lets you open up things. There's labels. You can change these so you can see. Labels, status, and section type. You can customize these for what you need. Section type isn't usually in here, but I right-clicked on this and see you can show, you can add a word count up here. A target, if you have a target set, I'll get into that next time. You can show or hide the things. Say I don't want word count on there. Section type, again, that's for compiling. I use these right here for tracking my submissions. So this is basically the interface. Is huge and there's a lot more features, but you can get writing with this program fairly quickly. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and turn things open. Turn things open, that's not a phrase. For questions.
It works. A couple questions we had in the chat as people kind of, you can come on back on if you want to, but Kathy asked early on, that draft folder, can you rename it like the title of your book?
You can rename any of the folders, I don't know if you can rename the trash. I haven't tried that. You probably could if you wanted to, but yeah, you can rename it. In fact, I have lost some of my draft folders in some of my projects because I've renamed them something else. And then I had so many other folders outside the draft folder that I'm like, oh, which one is which? So then I have to try dragging in like an image into the folder. And the one folder that I hit that says, oh, you can't add an image, I go, oh, there's the draft folder. So I can find that again. And then there have been some folders I'm like, oh, I don't want that. And I'll try and delete it. And it turns out it was the original draft folder that I had renamed. I'm like, oh, okay. So yes, you can rename those. You can actually change the icons too, so that you have different images on your icons. And I'll get into that next time as well.
You're going to show templates a little bit next week too, some of the
Yes.
templates? Okay.
Yes.
I thought that was there's a feature I really liked on it. So
yes. Yeah. And well, there's project templates, and then there are templates within a project. You can make your project so that certain files will automatically be the default document that you want to come up in a certain area. Very useful. I use that frequently as well.
There was a fair amount of discussion going on in the chat. So Melissa, this is a chat that I think would be good to save today and put on the web. A lot of times you do that, but that if you need to go back about, we got Windows users versus Mac users, and they were noticing some differences. And you're a Mac user like I am, so we probably don't notice it as much. And
Yep.
Leslie gave a couple things about it. There's an update coming, which was very good. And Leslie will, she's not on, but we'll thank her because I bet she's still in the chat, because she told Melissa how to get the update. Was it Melissa that wanted to know how to update? Somebody asked how to update that.
Updates.
Yeah, and she said you have to actually go to the website and purchase the update. I think that's what she said.
I am
But
curious
it's
if the
coming.
ones that weren't supposed to be purchased. Like when I got mine, it said the update would be something you could get for free with that purchase. And so I'm wondering if that's still applicable or not.
Well, I know that
Dan?
for Macs, now what I just reviewed was Scrivener 3. Scrivener 2 users were able to upgrade to Scrivener 3 without an upgrade fee. And I will say Scrivener was
Okay.
originally designed on Macs, and then the Windows version was added later. So I think the updates, when they do them, they do the updates on the Mac first, and then they add the Windows updates later. But
That's
don't quote me on that.
That's correct. That's correct. The Windows update is version 1. You won't get a version 2. It's going to go straight to version 3 when it updates. And it depends on when you purchase it as to whether your update will be free or you would have to purchase at a discount. I believe the program is normally around $45. And if you have to purchase the update, it'll be around $25. It was supposed to come out last year, but with COVID and everything, it got bumped to this year. They don't have a definite date, but they definitely want it to come out this year. So you just have to go to their website to find out when that's going to be and when it's going to be announced. And if I see it, I'll let everyone know because I'm waiting for it anxiously.
I will say that Scrivener
Thank you,
is $49, I think, on Mac. It's probably the same price for Windows. The OS version is a little less expensive, but I know oftentimes they will partner with NaNoWriMo, and if you do it in November and you win, there's a 50% discount. If you do Camp Nano, I haven't won, so I haven't really seen. I'm not sure if they offer the same thing for Camp Nano, and I do know they have some Camp Nano coming up as well. But then there's that 30-day
Leslie, did
free
you
trial.
Yeah.
Yes, it doesn't matter whether it's
Wow.
Camp or regular Nano. You still get the same. They start offering it both times.
So it's really cool. If you decide to do NaNoWriMo, you
Camp
could
Nano-
do the 30-day free trial, and then if you win, buy it for half off.
And Camp Nano is in the month of April, so it's coming up, correct? That's the time. and
Correct.
Usually in
Correct.
correct.
And it's also in
Yeah.
July.
And I kind of, okay, well, see, there you got a couple opportunities. I kind of agree. Yvonne says head spinning. It is a lot of detail. So I appreciate
is
you
a
doing
lot.
this in 2 weeks and kind of walking us through. And I think it's one of these, we were saying this in the chat too. It's one of these programs that you just kind of dip your toe in and try it. Try it with maybe not your under deadline project, but maybe try it on a project you used to comment about short stories or something that you're working on, or didn't you
I
say
do.
what did you use it for, Brandy?
I use this program for a lot of different applications. I track my writing submissions in it. I use Outliner for that. I have a different project where I write all my short stories in there. And so I'll have like tons and tons of short stories in there, lots of different folders. I will use it for novel products. I'll have a completely separate project for an individual novel. I actually use it for, I've used it for homeschooling. So I have my documentation. And then when I have to write my year-end report, I use that. Because I have a special needs child, I'll use IEP stuff. I have to put in different special things. And then I keep archives from the different years. So I have all the different years that I can compare to and just keep going through and writing different things. So there are many different applications for this program. But because it's so huge, there's so many features to it. I'm not going to be able to cover everything between this week and next week, but I want to cover enough of the basics today to get you started. And then next week, some of the more cool things, like we'll be discussing layouts. There's different ways to lay it out so that you can better work. There's something in there called a copy holder. You can actually divide your screen into 4 different sections and have 4 different pieces of material up, plus another reference window. You can import an entire other project into an existing project so that you basically have 2 sets of binders to work with from within the same binder. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do with this.
It is
I'm just
powerful.
very impressed. So I love this program. The one thing that has been my most difficult part has been the compile feature, because there's so many different things you can do with it. And I do highly recommend keeping the file structure very orderly. That was one of the things that really bit me in trying to compile a project and get it to print properly when I wanted to print more than one document out of my project. I had my different sections kind of all over the place, and I had to go back and reorganize everything and then set my sections so that the compile feature would recognize the sections properly and print them properly. So that's taken me, I think, probably the most to learn out of this program is how to use the compile feature, because it's kind of, it's daunting at first to look at it, which is why I absolutely love the print this document, print current document feature, because it's like, oh, simple, print this one little thing and off to go. You know, if I want to print a whole chapter, I can click on a group, I can click on the Scrivenings thing that will show me all of the different files all in one document. I can print that current document, and then I've got a big print of that. So I have found a lot of workarounds and things, but yeah. So I'm glad that this workshop has been helpful, and I'm looking forward to next week, because next week's is kind of some of the fun things. We could do an entire course on
Good.
just customizing Scrivener the way you want it.
Yeah.
You can even add icons.
We have a couple questions that's just popped up. Go ahead. Jill asked about how do you undo if you accidentally delete a whole section, and Kendi says hers are compiled without smart quotes. Can you change your kind of how you do quotes on that? And
You
then
can.
Kathy wanted to know, do you do each chapter as a section? So you got all sorts of things. So there.
So if you accidentally
Kathy.
delete a section, remember the trash doesn't actually dump unless you tell it to empty the trash. So you can pull something right back out of the trash and put it back where you wanted it to go. If you accidentally delete text in the middle of a file, not just delete a file, you can use the undo section in the edit area. There's an undo typing. You can also use, like on the Mac, it's Control Z. Command Z. I think it's Control Z as well on the Windows as well to undo your action. I use that frequently as well. And then what was the last one? Chapters section?
Do you do each chapter as a section? You'll probably show the templates next week.
As a section, can you ask me, what do you mean by section? And I ask that because a section is a type of label in Scrivener. So how are you using sections? You mean just?
Okay, it was my question. So what I'm wondering is you have your folder, is each one underneath each portion under there a separate chapter?
You can make it whatever works best for you.
Okay.
So they designed the program so that you can make it however you need it to be, however you best work. You can arrange your folders and your files however you want. Because they have the Scrivenings feature that allows you to view more than one file in one complete section, you can make however many files for individual scenes as you want, or sections of a chapter. If you're writing nonfiction, you can make individual ones a file, or you can just write them all in one big one. It's really however you want to use it.
Oh, that's good,
it's versatile
I jump
enough.
all over the place when I'm writing, so.
And that's okay. That's okay. Sometimes if you're writing a big thing, it's easier to section things out and put them in different files. But then if you click on, say, a Scrivenings mode, when you have a bunch of things underneath it, then you can view it all together when you want to view it all together. And then if you want to just focus on one, you click on the individual. So it's however you set it up. What I showed you is extremely basic. Next week, I will pull out a much more robust version of a project that will show you a lot of different folders. It will show you different icons on the folders, colors, and all of that stuff. There's a lot of things you can do with it, but it's really a great program to customize the way that you want it. You're welcome.
Thank you, Brandy. Thank you. We're running we're running short on time, so I'm probably going to draw up the recording, but we do have a couple questions left over in the chat. So I encourage you, Brandy, maybe to go look at those, and maybe those could be incorporated next week. Part 2,
Okay.
you know, might be a couple there, just right towards the end, a couple questions came up and a couple ideas on color coding and stuff. So people have tried some of the stuff I think you're hinting at next week. So next week is Scrivener Part 2. Thank you, Brandy, so much. This took a lot of time for you to organize and present and really give us an idea of this robust tool. We really do appreciate it and stuff. So thank you, Brandy, and thank you, Melissa, for recording. And thank you for everybody being with us today. And if you're watching the recording, this is good one to be part to watch over again. I think a second time for sure. On that way, we'll see you all next week, and you're welcome to stay for afterwards for our after party if you're here live. So bye, everybody. See you next week.